Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Live from NCCE. We are so pleased to have you here today. We have a special guest. His name is Jeff Bradbury. You may know him better as TeacherCast. Jeff has been around for a long time. He is the creator of the TeacherCast Educational Network. He is a Microsoft Innovative Educator expert and trainer. He is an Google for EDU certified innovator and trainer, and he has been a TEDx speaker. Jeff is an amazing presenter. I've been privileged to present with him, but I will tell you, Jeff is full of ideas. He's amazing. And he's also, by the way, the co-founder of EdCamp New Jersey. He's presented at ISTE, FETC, Q, and all over the place. So ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, Jeff Bradbury. Jeff, take it away.
Tammy, how are you today? It is so great to see you. How are things?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. I have been working with some amazing teachers all day at my school district, and I am so excited to share what's been going on there. And I'm also interested in hearing what you guys out there are doing. So first of all, thank you guys for joining us live from NCCE. And I am here to talk to you guys all about Microsoft Teams, but it's not exactly the way that you might be thinking. I know traditional PD might be, here's Teams, here's what it can do, let's push buttons. We're not going to do that tonight, Tammy. I don't think that's the right thing. Today, we're actually going to be talking about how Teams can be used to save you time and give you more time with your family. I know that's a big thing. I'm going to start off the same way I start off all my presentations. I am that crazy presenter with triplets. I know we didn't want 4. 3 was enough, but they're in first grade now. They're doing wonderful. You might even see them come by. And all I want to do when I get home is spend as much time with them as possible. But I was having a problem. I was coming in. I had to get done school. I had to get them dressed. I had to get them fed. I have a lot of stuff to do because, super dad and all. But when you're also trying to do this podcast thing, when you're trying to do the school thing, when you're trying to do the house thing, there's so much stuff going on. And that's when I found Microsoft Teams. Not only did I find Microsoft Teams, but I actually found that special sauce that shows off how we can use Microsoft Teams to keep us efficient, both in our jobs and at home. Tammy, I bet you want to know how to do this.
I am dying to know how to do this because I need to save time too. We all have families we want to spend time with. So Jeff, let's not waste any. Go for it.
It's all about that stuff. Now, look, if you're out there and you're using Teams, I would love to have you guys share out on YouTube. Our operator is standing by. We would love to hear you. And if you have any questions about how I'm doing any of these things, please let us know. You can, of course, always reach out to me over on teachercast.net. Find me on Twitter at TeacherCast. And, of course, you can check out all of our great podcasts over on the TeacherCast Educational Network. We are here for you. I am a proud member of the NCCE family. And if you have any great sessions that you'd like to have done at your school, don't forget to check them out over at ncce.org. But first of all, let's talk a little bit about what is Teams. Tammy, I'm going to bring you up here just for another quick second. If I ask you, Tammy, what is Teams? How do you describe Teams to somebody?
Wow. I really tell people that Teams is a way that we can actually work together as a team. It gives us the opportunity to communicate, collaborate, and do incredible, amazing things digitally, of course.
And that's exactly what it is. When we're working as a group, it is about that collaboration. It is about tackling these different projects. But here's my question. What happens if you're not a group? What happens if you're only one person? See, here's how I explain Teams to somebody. I'd love to hear your feedback. I look at Teams as 3 things. It's a communication tool. It's a hard drive, and it's something else. Communication tool. Obviously, we know you've got a wonderful and robust chat system. You've got a wonderful and robust post system where you have all your message boards. You can not only do text chat, you can do voice chat. There's a phone in there, but there's also the video calling, and that's awesome enough. Then on top of that, you've got this huge, robust filing system that's built off of SharePoint. What is SharePoint? We'll talk about that in a second. But through that filing system, you have a place to store your videos, your audio, your anything that you need in each of these channels. Before we go any farther, let's just kind of break those things down. We have a few vocab words I want to make sure that we're on the same page for. Teams, channels, and then that SharePoint thing. I explain to people, teams is nothing more than a group of individuals all with a common goal. That could be a building, that could be a department, that could be a classroom, or in my case, that could just be an individual or even a family. And so if a team is a group of people that have a common goal, the channels underneath of it are just groups of people that share that same goal. For instance, it could be elementary band teachers, elementary orchestra teachers, elementary choir teachers, all under the visual and performing arts department. And as we said, everything is built into SharePoint. Now, if you haven't seen or if you're not familiar with Microsoft, maybe you're here for the first time trying to figure this out. SharePoint is nothing more than a huge hard drive up in the cloud where the files are actually owned by the department or by the organization. In Microsoft's world, we have OneDrive where the files are shared by us as individuals, and then SharePoint is the organization owns it. So if you have any questions, please let it in. And of course, Tammy, if you see any questions, let us know. So what can we do in Teams? Well, we already mentioned that we can chat, right? We can share opinions, personalities, send gifts, stickers, emojis, group messages, etc. We can do those meets. And of course, we love to collaborate. But today I want to focus on some of those more personal things because we mentioned that it's three things: communication, files, and I said there's one more thing. And that one more thing is creating personalized teams, creating a dashboard for ourselves, creating a place that way whenever we open up our computers, it's the first thing that happens. And this is exactly how I run my Edge browser. I run my Chrome browser. As soon as I open up my browser, a tab pops up open with my Microsoft team specifically to my personal data dashboard. And I'm here today to show you both the one that I use for TeacherCast and also the one that I use for my job as an instructional technology coach. Here is an example of the team that I put together for our instructional technology coaches. I made up channels for every single thing or person that I reach out to. Some of these, as you can see, are building based. Some of these you can see are position based. Some of these are department based, but I'm using these channels essentially as tabs. Now, Tammy might ask me, why would you do that? Can't you use OneNote for that? And I'm going to say absolutely. You could use OneNote very similar. You have a OneNote section, you have a OneNote page, you're going to write stuff down in OneNote. And that's awesome. I've kind of come into a liking of using Teams to do the same thing because inside of Teams, then I put my notebooks. Let me show you a couple more things here. You'll notice in here, again, I have some buildings. I have some departments. I have some special people in my life. The other day, I was out with the principal. I was out visiting a school. As I was having meetings with that principal, I was putting all of the notes that I was taking in that post editor for my specific channel in that team. So this is being used to keep me organized. I'm not chatting to others. I'm using it to chat to myself. Now, at the end of the session, I can take this back. I can organize it. I can edit it. I can even reply to it. And I can use these post editors as a running conversation with myself to keep me organized, to keep myself moving as efficient as possible. Also in Teams, we have that file section. And you'll notice here, I've got district documents, I've got spreadsheets, I've got PDFs. All that stuff is wonderful. But do you see that folder called digital learning? Now, I'm one of those people that I like to have everything all in one spot. I don't want to be moving things all over the place. So one of the things I love is that little button that you're noticing up on the top right of the screen. It says add cloud storage. It actually turns out that that digital learning is actually my Google Drive. So through Teams, I was able to connect my files locker into my Google Drive. And so no matter where I am, all I need to do is to click on that files tab and it's here. I don't have to go into Google Drive on a different tab. I don't have to open up a different browser. Everything is connected to keep it efficient. The more time I save, the more time I have with my family, the more time I have with my kids, the better dad I can be, let's be honest. So you can see very quickly here, by just using that post, I can have quick communication, not with others right now, but with myself. And then over here, I can use that files tab. But it's not just about that files tab. One of the things that I love to do is to use Microsoft Planner. Now, on the left of your Microsoft team, you have all of those apps, and I like to max that out. I like to pin a bunch of apps in there. One of my favorite ones is Microsoft Planner. I use it with all of my tech coaches. I use it for all of the projects that we're doing, and I can create a workflow to help me stay organized. Now, it's easy to create a planner and stick it up in a bookmark or open it up in another tab, but I love the fact that Microsoft Planner is built into Teams and I can just go in and out of it anytime that I need to. And I didn't want to show you guys this because it kind of has some sensitive stuff, but if you haven't checked out that button on the left that says Planner Hub, check that out. I think you're going to like that one. And there's one more thing that Teams does to help keep me organized as an instructional technology coach, and that's keeping me in touch with the students and the teachers that I work with every single day. One of the apps that you can add is actually Microsoft Booking. I use this every single day to have teachers find me, sign up for time with me, and I also use this to make appointments with my administrators and also with the tech coaches that I work on. These are just some of the things that I use to help become more efficient in the classroom, become more efficient in my school district, and save me time so that way when I do get home, my time is spent with my kids and with my family. Now, I want to show you guys a few other things as we go through here, because this is really just an outline of Teams. I want to show you a little bit of the behind the scenes of how I really have used Teams to deep dive into running a podcasting network as robust as TeacherCast. Tammy, do we have any questions yet before I move forward?
I'm assuming you can hear me, but I don't think you can.
Not yet.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Awesome. So we did have a question. They're looking at this wonderful, what you've got up on the screen, and they're asking, can that be used to like book parent-teacher conferences? Like with families
Absolutely.
outside the district?
And in fact, one of our good friends, Mike Tolson from Microsoft Education himself, just put out a fantastic YouTube video all about how to use Microsoft Bookings for those parent-teacher conferences. So I don't know if Tammy, you can find that link, but there's a lot of great things that are in there. And I love this. Essentially, you can see here, I've got 4 different slots. Some of them are physical, some of them are virtual. The teacher says, I want a meeting with Jeff, and then it pops up all of my times. This is actually a huge, huge time saver on here. Now, let me show you guys a few other things. This here is actually my TeacherCast side. And you notice it doesn't have departments. It doesn't have buildings. It actually has podcasts on here. I actually have a bunch of podcasts right now on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. And the way that I decided to design this to keep myself organized was I made a team for each of my shows. Now, I didn't have to do it that way. I could have made one team and make a show every channel. But, you know, Tammy, you know me. If I could do things in 100 steps, I'll do things in 100 steps. And then I'll condense it. So if I'm looking at a couple things here, my Ask the Tech Coach, I have a co-host. Her name's Susan. She's amazing. And by the way, if you're a tech coach looking for a great podcast, every single Monday morning, we do our Ask the Tech Coach show. If I look under general, you can see that Sue and I have conversations going about a lot of things. But here's where this is saving me a lot of time at home. We have our files section here. Now, Sue and I have been doing podcasting a lot longer than we have done Microsoft Teams. So where do we store our stuff? Well, over here, we've got a couple different tabs. We have ATTC for Ask the Tech Coach Podcast Planner, and it's a little outdated for right now. We kind of fell behind, but you can see we have our planner for all the different blog posts, all the different things that we have going for us. And this is how we were, until the school year started, keeping track of it all. If I came in over here, I could actually assign this to Sue, and we kept track of everything inside of Teams. Or over here, I have a link for show notes folder. Now, you're going to notice that right now, nothing's popping up. Don't be alarmed. For whatever reason, the difference between Teams, the desktop app, and Teams, the online app, have a few special details that I think Microsoft kind of rolls up their sleeves. One of them is the ability to not show Google products. I am not kidding. You can't show Google products inside of Teams. But you know what? What you can do is over here under this little globe, I can hit this button, and what do you know? Here are all of the show notes for our Ask the Tech Coach. Now, if I was showing off this on the Teams app, you would see it. It would all work. It would look great. But I love the fact that within one button, I can open up my entire show notes and I can get to work. I can see things. And even more importantly, she can share things. Now, you might be thinking, can everybody see this? If I had a group of 35 people, could 35 people see my show notes? No, it's all still based off of the sharing permissions. So this is still a Google Drive screen. And Google Drive is saying in order to see this folder, you need to be, one of two people on the planet. So if I had Tammy in here and she clicked that button, she couldn't see it, but just Sue and I could see it. I know you get how that works. So this is a real simple and easy way to combine that Microsoft and Google all together. And by the way, Microsoft, that's really, really cute that you can't see that stuff. Maybe we could work on that. The other thing I have in here are my other channels. Now, again, I have a show called Educational Podcasting today. Same exact idea. Up here, I have our homepage. I put the link to my website. So again, I don't have to bounce in. I don't have to bounce out of these different things. And then on top of that, I have a link to my planner. I have a link to podcast ideas. I have a link to, there's Google again. I have a link to those show notes here. I'm using this as a complete dashboard. Also, if I click on the Teams General, here I have my things to do, my show notes. I got some business docs I don't want to show you right now. But as you can see here, Tammy, I'm using Teams to keep track of all of the little nuances of TeacherCast. Now, could I just use Google Drive for this? Absolutely. Could I use a bunch of bookmarks for this? Absolutely. But I do love the fact that it keeps track of everything here, and I have everything in front of me. I'm going to pause here just to see if we have any questions, and then I want to go back into the Teams tenant that I have for school, and I want to show you a few more things that we have going on there in the time that we have remaining. Tammy, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Just a question on naming conventions, because you had when you were showing us your team earlier, you had all the different tabs. What are your recommendations for naming conventions for tabs to help make things more efficient? Because I noticed you had things very clearly labeled, so they were easy to find. But do you have any tricks for naming conventions of files and tabs?
So I'm going to answer that in a few short ways. Number one, this here is for me. Nobody else is using it. So I can do shorthand. I can say show notes, and I know what I mean by that. The problem up here with tabs is you only have so many characters to work with. So it can't be forever. I can't say really educational podcasting today, the podcast. Can't do that. So I abbreviate to ATTC or EPT or whatever. Again, I'm just using that. On the other hand, let's talk about naming with channels. Let's go back, because what is Teams? It's a communications tool, but it's also a hard drive. If you look at the way that the channels are set, you're going to notice that every single channel, if I pull up here the general channel and I look at here and I pull this up here and I actually open up the team inside of SharePoint, again, this is the whole back end hard drive. We're going to realize here that, is it site contents or whatever it is? You're going to realize, I think I might have a wrong channel, but every single channel becomes a folder inside of the SharePoint hard drive. And that's important when we're working with our team. If Tammy and I were on the same team, let's say she was in, fourth grade, I'm in fifth grade, whatever, and I start naming all of myself CHAPTER space 1, and she names it CH space 1, and then somebody else comes along and says CH period 1. My principal can't find that. So one of the things that I stress with everybody is we need to come up with a common naming system. Now, the other thing you need to know about channels is they're alphabetized. So if you were doing a building-based team and you were saying channels would be called first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, clearly, if you were spelling them out, that's not alphabetical order. So the question I have for you is, do you call it FIRST grade, or do you call it 1ST grade, 2ND grade? Some people would put one ST grade. I disagree with that. Even though spelling out the words first, second, third with the full proper spelling, that doesn't make things alphabetical. The reason that I'm asking my school district to do that is because if you were in SharePoint, if you were in search, if you were looking through the file cabinet for curriculum, documents, lesson plans, whatever, and I just said, hey, Tammy, can you just type in first grade? Probably Tammy's going to type in FIRST. So even though it's not going to be alphabetical on the channel, most people are going to be searching for that term over the one ST. And that's a long way of answering and saying, yes, many things matters.
That was a good answer, though. But I have one other question, and we're wondering if SharePoint is the same as OneDrive, or are they're separate, right?
So the way I explain this is on the Google side, you have My Drive, which is files that I own, you own, we own, and it has an ownership. And then Google has team drives or shared drives, which are owned by the organization. If somebody leaves, somebody comes in, those files still exist. And on the Microsoft side, you have something very similar. OneDrive is that personal drive. I own these files. Whereas SharePoint is the organizational structure. And one of the reasons why I'm using Teams as a dashboard is because you are, hate to say it, a position in the district. Let's say that you're a director of STEM and you leave and somebody else walks in, well, then they can inherit your dashboard. They can inherit your SharePoint files. Let's say that Tammy leaves the district and I shut down her account. Somebody else comes in to teach 5th grade. What do they have? You've already shut down and deleted all of their accounts. So I'm always looking not only in the 4th dimension, but I'm always looking a couple steps ahead when I'm working with staff members. Aside from that, I wouldn't necessarily come into Tammy as a 5th grade teacher and talk about dashboards. Sometimes that's way too much. But when I'm working with administrators, when I'm working with central administrators, oh, dashboards are important because you get it. You are a placeholder. Even myself, I know one day I'm not going to be in this position. Somebody's going to step into it. I want them to have all the professional development channels, all the professional development folders, files, things. So look at yourself as the fact that you're just borrowing this chair. I know we're running close on time. I want to move on to show you guys a few things. Was there one more question, or do you think we can go forward?
We're ready to go forward.
Excellent. Now, here is my team for school. Now, I showed you a couple of slides on this, but here's my Jeff Bradbury digital dashboard. You can see I have everything here. And you'll notice under the general tab, and again, for most teams, general tab is where you just dump all your stuff and you have a party. But for me, I have my posts, I have my files. And again, this is what I just showed you a few minutes ago. This is my Google folder. This is my digital learning. I can always add my cloud storages here. This is pretty cool. I wish they had Dropbox. Hey, Microsoft, if you're watching for that, right? But over here, I do have my planner for my school district. I have the website that I built in Google Sites, okay? And actually what I'm showing you here is a dashboard inside a dashboard. So I'm actually using Google Sites to create a dashboard for all of my OneNotes. Got it, Tammy? Many OneNotes I have now, Tammy. And so over here, I have one for all my Google Sites. And then I have some extra projects that I do. In other words, this is my portfolio in a Google site inside of Teams. Are we all together on that one? Over here, we have our home. And this is what I was actually trying to find earlier. This is actually the SharePoint website, which eventually I'm going to decorate this looking at using something called the lookbook. And as you can see here, every single channel on the left side is a folder on the right side. So I can dive into the general channel here, and you're going to see those files. Again, by doing this, by setting this up, this is saving me time. This is making me more efficient. This means I don't have to go to sleep at midnight because I'm sitting here trying to find things, organize things. It's all here. And eventually I'm going to have my quick links out for, could be Google Docs, could be SharePoint files, could be NCCE.org, could be an amazing program happening next Thursday at 7 o'clock by our good friend Greg Bagby, I would highly check that out too. I know Tammy's going to talk about that in a little bit here, but you can also see over here, I have our news section, and finally, I have my booking pages. Everything here is wrapped up into one thing. It helps keep me organized. I know that this concept will help keep you guys organized. Think about this as not only a communication tool, think about this not only as a filing cabinet, but also thinking about this as a dashboard. It'll help make your podcast lighter. It'll help make your day go quicker. It'll certainly help you have more time at home with your family. And, you know, triplets, everybody should try it. Tammy, are there any questions in the audience? And I do want to say thank you out there to NCCE for having me. I love doing this stuff and will be happy to work with any of your school districts out there if you're interested.
Yeah, the question was about the tab that you were showing us where you had the documents on the right-hand side. I don't remember which tab that's a little small for me to, yeah, that one. Is that just a website tab that you added, or what exactly is that?
Sure, this is a SharePoint website, and SharePoint is like, it's like saying Xerox, right? SharePoint is the hard drive system. So these are folders inside of SharePoint, but what you're seeing here is actually a SharePoint website. And I can create this with multiple sites. You can see right here, I've got file structures. This is like my recent activity on the channel.
Oh yeah, but how do you create that?
Oh, that's a great question.
That's within SharePoint, and then you've got a distinct URL that you bring into the tab in Teams?
Yes, and I tell you what, come
we'll
into
have
the
you back for another one.
One of the things that we're going to be launching is a full platform of how do you do Teams for tech coaches? How do you do Teams for teachers? We're going to take it as a little bit of a different slant than just the button pushing videos that are out there, because there's a lot of them out there. But we are going to be breaking this down into more of these how-to details. And of course, you can always find me over at teachercast.net. I'm only saying that because we have a few seconds left on the East Coast, and I want to make sure that we're all good. But this stuff it's a passion, it's a hobby, but also, as you can see, it's just a matter of looking at this. And I'll tell you one thing about this, Tammy. I did not design this in Teams. I actually designed all this on paper. One of the things that I love doing whenever I make websites, whenever I design anything with my teachers, clients, whatever, I'll open up a whiteboard. Could be a Microsoft whiteboard, could be my iPad, whatever. I draw all of this stuff out. So that way, when I do attack Teams, I know where I'm going and I have everything in here. You'll notice over on the left side here, I have extra applications. Like over here, I don't have a lot because this is my TeacherCast side. Over here on my school side, I have a tab for OneNote. I have a tab for booking, or an app, I should say, for bookings, for the wiki. The wiki is awesome. We didn't even get a chance to doing that, but I find myself taking notes a lot in wikis because it's another way of organizing things. But we'll save that for another live from NCCE, which of course you can find out more information over at ncce.org.
Yeah, it strikes me that you're really thinking about how you're using this so you don't have to leave Teams, and teachers could actually translate that into how they prepare their teams for student use. So it's a one-stop shop and they don't have to leave Teams to go out and do a Kahoot or go out and do something else. Everything is right there. It makes it so much easier for student success. This is amazing.
And I click on websites and I go here to www.kahoot.com. I guess I should www.https. Right. So now I have saved. I could just make this a tab up here. Here's my Kahoot.
I think it's even an app in the tab, so it's super easy.
It's all of those things. And I find some things I find I like using the app for. Some things I find I like going out of it and then bringing it in. So for instance, on my school side, all the OneNotes that I have in here, I don't make in Teams. I'll make in OneNote and then I'll add the link over here. That's just my personal preference.
No, that makes total sense. Can you bring up the picture on the NCCE site for next week? Because we're at time and we have another amazing presenter. Matter of fact, I think he's online. There he is. No, that's Jim. There he is. There is the handsome and dashing Greg Bagby. And of course, you, of course, are also dashing Mr. Bradbury. But Mr. Bagby will be on next week, and he's going to be talking about connecting with teachers during a pandemic to share ideas and save time. Be sure that you're here exactly 1 week from today, 1 week minus 30 minutes. That's 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Jeff, thank you so much for being here. And why don't you send us off?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you out to Tammy for being the Robin to my Batman, if you will, the Burr to my Hamilton. No. Thank
The
you so
girl
much for being
blunder.
my co-host today. Thank you out there, Heidi, Shannon, Bobby, and everybody in the NCCE family for having me here. Looking forward to Greg next week. On behalf of everybody here in the NCCE family, my name is Jeff Bradbury, reminding you guys to keep up the great work in your classrooms and continue sharing your passions with your students. Good night, everybody.